Oregonians young and old remember the servicemen and women who sacrificed their lives for our country. Tonight, a look at Memorial Day around the nation and here in our community. Good evening, I'm David Walker. Thank you for joining us. This Memorial Day weekend holds special meaning for one fireman at the Siuslaw River Coast Guard Station. Dana Gagliardi helped save a young boy's life after the boy was swept into the ocean near the Siuslaw River North Jetty on Saturday. KVAL's Ellen Menny talked with Gagliardi in Florence today. Ellen?
Well, thank you, David. Dana Gagliardi says he was enjoying his day off at the North Jetty when he heard a woman scream. He says at that moment he knew that something was very wrong. Gagliardi says he heard the woman screaming into her phone, asking 911 for help. He looked in the water and saw two young boys drawn out deeper and deeper into the surf. Gagliardi says he acted on instinct. He jumped into the cold water and headed towards the two boys.
The adrenaline played a big factor in the whole situation as well. More emotion came in after the fact, where I realized that it was a really big deal, and it was a good thing that I was there at the right time.
The Coast Guard says Gagliardi rescued one of the boys and was helped by 3 other people, including Springfield resident Angelo Santiago, who rescued the other boy. And we will have more on this story at 6 p.m. Live in the studio, Ellen Menny, KVAL News.
Well, all across the country, Americans pause today to remember those soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who gave their lives while in service to our nation. Parades, ceremonies, and tributes commemorated this Memorial Day. Mark Albert reports from Washington.
President Obama laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknowns at Arlington National Cemetery, paying tribute to thousands of men and women who died on the battlefield and were never identified. In his last Memorial Day as president, he called for improved services and health care for veterans and their families.
For us, the living, those of us who still have a voice, it is our responsibility, our obligation, to fill that silence with our love and our support and our gratitude, and not just with words, but with our actions.
Here at the World War II Memorial, a ceremony paid tribute to the more than 400,000 American service members who died between 1941 and 1945. A 100-foot American flag was unfurled at the USS Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum in New York City, and wreaths were thrown in the Hudson River. At the White House, the POW MIA flag flew at half-staff in memory of the more than 82,000 U.S. service members since World War II who are still listed as missing. Mark Albert, CBS News, Washington.
Here in Eugene, hundreds of people attended the Pioneer Cemetery's annual Memorial Day ceremony. Bagpipes were played, children from Shasta Middle School sang, and crowds gathered to honor the men and women who died in service to our country. The ceremony was complete with a rifle salute and Abraham Lincoln delivering the Gettysburg Address. This year's speaker was Springfield resident and an Army veteran, Captain Dustin McCluskey. He spoke openly of his time in Afghanistan, witnessing soldiers killed in combat, and tried to make sense of his experiences after coming home.
I know that I act a certain way when something happens. I know that, but why? You know, I don't understand why we are the way we are when we come back from war. So I think I really tried to boil a lot of experiences and thoughts and feelings down to something that I could get out to people.
McCluskey encouraged the crowd to speak with the veterans in their lives, asking about their service and allowing them to share what they went through. The Memorial Day ceremony was hosted by the American Legion Post 3. Clear skies as Oregon Air National Guard fighter jets flew over the Eugene-Springfield area this morning. We got this view from the top of Skinner Butte as those flags waved in the breeze. A patriotic sight on this Memorial Day. KVAL's Travis Knudsen joins us over in the Weather Center. He has a first look at our forecast.
Well, happy Memorial Day to you, David. We have some nice weather across the region this Monday, and looks like the work week is setting up to see some sunshine as well. 74 degrees. That's the temperature outside in Eugene. Winds have a nice kick to them, though, from the north-northeast at about 16 miles per hour. A few clouds here and there across the region, but overall very, very dry. Looking at the satellite and radar, no rain to report, and this whole work week is likely to remain on the dry side as well. Heading into the evening hours, we'll have a few high clouds here and there, but we remain dry. Temperatures cooling down into the 40s. Tomorrow, a whole lot warmer than we were today, and that is a warming trend that continues for quite some time. I'll tell you how hot it'll get in my full forecast still to come.
Well, at least 6 people are dead and 2 are missing after heavy rain flooded parts of Texas. In the Houston area, the Brazos River is already 5 feet above flood level and still rising. Search teams have given up hope of rescuing a 10-year-old swept away in the river. Rising water levels have forced the mandatory evacuation of several communities in southeastern Texas. The floods have also forced the relocation of inmates from 2 nearby prisons. The Secret Service says the White House has returned to normal operations now after the building was on lockdown earlier today. Police say someone threw a metal object over the north fence along Pennsylvania Avenue. A woman was detained and put in handcuffs. At the time of the incident, President Obama had just returned from the Memorial Day service at Arlington National Cemetery. And a busy Memorial Day for Bernie Sanders. The presidential candidate was back on the campaign trail in California. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton scaled back their schedules for the holiday. Craig Boswell reports.
Hillary Clinton marked Memorial Day by walking in a parade in her adopted hometown of Chappaqua, New York, while Bernie Sanders did the same in San Francisco. California is the last big prize in the Democratic campaign, and it's a must-win state for Sanders.
Obviously, if we don't do well in California, it will make our path much, much harder. No question about it.
But it's going to take more than just doing well to beat Clinton. She needs only 73 delegates to win the nomination. That's just 8% of the delegates still up for grabs.
Donald Trump has already started attacking Hillary Clinton in anticipation of this fall's general election battle. But even Trump and Clinton supporters acknowledge both candidates have work to do.
And the surveys I've looked at indicate that Democrats will ultimately rally together because they don't like Trump, and the Republicans will ultimately rally together because they don't like Clinton. So neither one of these candidates is likely to get a big wet kiss from the American public.
That could open the door for a long-shot third-party candidate, like former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, who picked up the Libertarian Party nomination over the weekend. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Donald Trump has called a press conference for tomorrow to answer questions about how much money he actually raised at a fundraiser for veterans. That fundraiser was held before the Iowa caucuses. There's some question as to where the money ended up going. Well, later on, Travis Knudsen, our meteorologist, will be here again. He'll have your forecast for the upcoming work week. And next on KVAL News at 5, more controversy over the fatal shooting of a gorilla at Cincinnati Zoo. Officials say they had no choice. A child's life was at stake. Rate for post-9/11 veterans recently hit a record low. But many advocates caution the battle is not over yet. Mark Albert reports from Washington.
All 750 people attending this jobs fair are veterans. Julian Johnson served in the Army's Old Guard. Do you have a full-time job right now?
No, I do not.
You want one?
Yes, that would be amazing.
Diana Staples left the Army in 2014.
First, when I got out, I was really intimidated by the whole job search process.
Staples now works at Capital One, one of a growing number of post-9/11 veterans in the workforce. Labor statistics show the unemployment rate for that group of vets, 5.8% in 2015, the lowest on record, and a dramatic drop from the 12.1% in 2011.
While it may seem scary at first, the future's bright, and I think there are a lot of companies committed to hiring veterans. Do you have any questions about the company?
Staples is now recruiting other vets for her employer, one of 100 businesses at this job fair. Organizer Eric Eversole says companies can't participate if they aren't hiring.
And we don't want someone that just comes out and waves the flag. We want someone that's going to be dedicated to helping veterans and military spouses find jobs.
When a veteran wants more than a job, they want a career.
Jonathan Schleifer at the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America praises the lower unemployment rate, but warns proposed cuts to the GI Bill could impede further gains, including a House-passed $770 million reduction in housing subsidies for children of veterans.
Everyone is doubling down to help veterans transition home. And the last thing we want to do while we still have men and women abroad fighting our fight is to cut one of their critical benefits.
Johnson went back to school. He's now studying cybersecurity.
It's improving, but there are people that still need jobs in the military.
Mark Albert, CBS News, Washington.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the unemployment rate for post-9/11 veterans in 2015 was still 11% above the unemployment rate for non-veterans. Well, crews rescued 2 hikers at Crater Lake this morning. They were reported missing Sunday evening. A Jackson County search and rescue helicopter was able to retrieve the hikers. Officials say one hiker sustained major injuries after tumbling 250 feet. The other hiker suffered from minor hypothermia. A teenage boy is recovering from burns after a boat caught fire on Dexter Lake Sunday afternoon. Lowell and Dexter fire crews say a family of 4 was on board. They were able to escape with the help of other boaters. The boy was hospitalized and were told his injuries are not life-threatening. Crews tried to get the boat back to shore, but it sank in shallow water. A tow truck eventually will get it out. Officials say figuring out what caused that fire will be difficult because the boat was nearly destroyed. Controversy over the killing of a gorilla at Cincinnati Zoo. The director says zookeepers did the right thing after fatally shooting the gorilla over the weekend. They say they had no choice. They had to protect a child who had entered the gorilla's enclosure. Jamie Yuccas reports.
Animal activists held a vigil outside the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden to remember Harambe. The 17-year-old western lowland gorilla was shot after a boy fell into its exhibit.
We're here to represent Harambe, that we're not here to point fingers. We're not here to criticize.
I hope that they're able to come up with ways to avoid this happening in the future.
Cell phone video captured the terrifying moments after a young boy somehow wound up alone in a moat with a 400-pound gorilla.
The gorilla has the child and is dragging him around the pen.
The boy's mother could be heard calling to him. Zoo officials made the decision to shoot and kill Harambe, saying tranquilizing the animal was not an option.
That child's life was in danger. And people who question that, or are Monday morning quarterbacks, or second guessers, don't understand that you can't take a risk with a silverback gorilla.
The zoo says the exhibit barrier is adequate, and officials are looking at whether there is any way to improve it. The boy's family released a statement saying he is home and fine. Jamie Yuccas, CBS News.
Well, more than 100,000 people have signed an online petition to get the boy's mother to face charges for not looking after her son. Coming up on KVAL News at 5, the final day of the individual NCAA Men's Golf Championships wrapping up this afternoon. Find out if Oregon's Aaron Wise could hold on to first place. Preston Highfield is still ahead with KVAL Sports. Home for the Bees, right in the heart of New York City. Jill Wagner reports.
High above the busy streets of Manhattan, an unlikely buzz. Bees, tens of thousands of them, who call this skyscraper home.
This is the 3rd year that we've had bees atop One Bryant Park.
Andrew Cote is the beekeeper. He says the bees aren't aggressive, but he didn't want to take any chances.
You are holding about 1,000 bees.
The Durst organization owns the building and wanted to install an outdoor garden, but needed a little help to get the flowers to bloom. That's where the bees come in.
Why are these bees so important for New York City?
These bees are important for New York City because the Big Apple needs pollinating.
There are 258 different types of bees in New York City. In fact, there are more bees than people.
And they live in some expensive real estate. Urban beehives can be found in several major cities. including San Francisco, where the Fairmont Hotel has installed bee sanctuaries. It's a small way of helping the massive bee shortage. The country's bee population is half of what it was 70 years ago.
It's an ongoing effort.
Jeffrey Barker from Bank of America works in the building and says he's happy to share the office space.
These are an important component of an ecological system.
And there are some sweet perks. The Durst organization gives the honey produced by the bees to its tenants, roof to table. Jill Wagner, CBS News, New York.
A spectacular sight in Florence on Saturday afternoon. An orca swam into the Siuslaw River. Florence resident Deborah Helt Cordone pulled out her camera and recorded the whale from her home. Quite a sight. The whale swam upstream to an area offshore from Rhododendron Drive. She says it's unusual to see whales in the river, but about a year ago, she says 3 whales swam all the way to the Siuslaw River Bridge.
Making the postseason, but quickly back to the Eugene Country Club as Aaron Wise wraps up. What a fantastic tournament he's had. Going to be fun to see in the next hour if he holds on to that lead.
Oh boy, it's been some great golf this last week.
Yeah, date back to the women's championships last week as well.
All right, thank you, Preston.
You got it.
And we'll get a look at that weather forecast here into the last part of our Memorial Day weekend.
Well, we'll be wrapping it up. Very comfortable outside. Tomorrow, even comfortable as well, though you can see a couple 87s, 88 in there. I know for some people that's above the warm threshold and getting closer to that word hot, but certainly sunny all week long. Next chance of storms may be next Monday, but that is still a ways away, so get used to getting sunshine.
All right, well, we hope you're enjoying your holiday. Be safe out there. CBS Evening News is next.